everybody, welcome. I'm Chef Emme, and today we're going to be making a very special meal, a moqueca. A moqueca is a very typical Brazilian stew, specialty of Salvador, my home city, and it's an African-inspired stew. We have palm oil, we have coconut milk, you can put any type of seafood you want, some vegetables and spices. It's super quick, super beautiful. You'll see the color of this palm oil. It's amazing, gorgeous, and it's super easy to make. We are gonna be making a mussel and clam one. So technically this would be called a Moqueca de Marisco. Mussels and clams are mariscos. And we're going to be using some green papaya. Backstory on this. So green papaya trees are, they grow in almost everybody's backyard. And typically one would put like a chayote squash in a moqueca. But for those that don't have money, are more on the poor side, my parents growing up, my grandma, they used to just get a green papaya from their backyard and you boil it and cook it in the moqueca, and it seriously tastes just like a chayote squash, or really even better. It like soaks up all the flavor of that stew, the coconut, the palm oil, all the juices from the seafood, and it's delicious. So, all right, let's get ready to make this moqueca. First thing we're gonna do is a tomato confit. So typically the tomato is cooked into the stew, and it's like cooked down, it's like broken down, it's really soft. But for my little twist, having gone to culinary school and being more of like a, sophisticated chef, I guess, I decided to start making moqueca and doing the tomato separate as a confit. So super easy. I know it sounds like all, fancy and whatnot, but this is really easy. Just some cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes into a little small pan that can go into the oven. We are going to put in some garlic, like 4 garlic cloves. I'm just gonna like rough chop them a little bit. Stick that in there. We're gonna do like a little pinch of oregano, some salt, of course, and then I like to put in some canola or veggie oil, an oil that doesn't really have too much flavor in it, just because the tomatoes will have like so much flavor themselves. I don't want to kind of disturb that. So that's super simple. Just give it a little stir, just to make sure everything's covered. I'm gonna salt it up a little bit more because I can just feel it in my soul that it needs a little bit more salt. And then we're gonna stick it in the oven for about like 30 minutes or so, 20-30 minutes. And it's going to be soft, it's going to be super flavorful, bursting with like flavors and spices. Okay, so our tomato is in the oven doing its thing. We're gonna go get our green papaya. So we're just gonna peel it, and before we stick it in with our stew, we're gonna like blanch it a little bit because it's just really hard. So we want to just blanch it so it gets a little tender. And then we'll throw it in to the stew so that it like soaks up all the juices. But yeah, super like interesting little trick that, people in Brazil use to save some money, just using the resources that they have like in their backyard or on the street with this green papaya. Whoever did that first was a genius. Like, who would have thunk it? Chayote squash. Yeah. So it's like a little, like, it looks like a pear chayote squash. And it's really good. Like, the good thing about chayote squash and papaya is that they like soak up all the flavors from like the stew or whatever you're cooking. And it's just like so delicious. All right, so we're gonna just use half of this. So with the green papaya, we're just going to like large diced. Almost like poked myself here. And then I have some water boiling. It's already salted, and we're just going to add these to the water and cook it until it's a little tender. And don't forget the salt, because again, the papaya like soaks up whatever liquid, so if you have just straight up water, it's gonna be flavorless, so you wanna make sure you have enough salt in there. All right, so while our tomato is in the oven and our green papaya is getting tender over there in the boiling water, we're gonna start the prep for the moqueca. Again, super simple stew. It really, like the flavor, the colors, when you look at it, it looks like, you know, it took hours and there's like a million ingredients. And actually, like a lot of people, when they see it, they think it's a curry just because of the bright, like yellow, orangey color to it. They always think it's a curry, but it's not. It's just a moqueca stew. It's that palm oil. The palm oil really has like an amazing color and a very like unique taste to it. And that's literally the base of the sauce is the palm oil, the coconut milk, a little bit of lime juice, and then just like all the seafood and all the juices that come from the seafood. So like I have a thing with onions because when I was in culinary school, like first quarter, we had like a test, knife skill test that we had to do. It was a bunch of like different cuts on different vegetables, and the onion kind of took me out. I still have like a scar here. So for those out there, don't mind while I cut the onion. Isn't that like a term for like farting or something? Or no, that's a cut the cheese. Sorry. Not cutting cheese, we're cutting onions. But yeah. And I totally cut it in half, and I wasn't supposed to. But that's okay, that's the beauty of this stew, is really, you know, toss it in however you want. It's just really the flavor that matters. Okay, so we have our onions, and then you can use green peppers or like red peppers. I really love like poblano peppers because it gives it a little bit like extra kick to it. So we're gonna just simply slice some poblano peppers in there. We are ready to rock this stew. So palm oil, super easy to get. I feel like it's really available now in like most stores. They have this specific palm oil, and as you see here, just look at that color. And it literally turns out so beautifully. So we're gonna add some palm oil to our saute pan here. We're gonna heat it up. The oil, it's like coconut oil. It may like solidify, which is like, it's totally okay, just depending on kind of the temperature in the room. So it might be a little solidified, it's totally fine. So we have that heating up. We're gonna add our peppers, toss them in here, and onions. And we are going to, you don't want it to caramelize, you really just want it to soften up a little bit. We're gonna do this over some high heat, get it started. We're gonna sprinkle a little salt. So we gotta season our food all the way through, not just in the beginning, not just in the end. We're gonna season our food all the way through. That's a pro tip right there. And our green papaya is just starting to get tender. I can see by the color. I'm just gonna drain it. Let's set it aside. So, there you go. So, anytime is a great time to cook this meal, but I also think like it's I love like eating fresh seafood like in the summer. I think it's like super fun and beautiful. The color is bright. I think it's a great like summer dish, but honestly, like even in the winter, so like all the time is a great time to have a moqueca. And you know, seeing a lot of recipes out there, sometimes, you know, they'll say, you know, if you can't find palm oil, just substitute tomato paste which is like a big no-no in my book. Being a Bahiana, being an authentic person from Bahia, where this dish is like, you know, the dish of our city, you can't sub out palm oil. It's literally the most important ingredient in this dish. So if you see a recipe out there for a moqueca that says, you know, palm oil, or sometimes it even says olive oil, which is even more of a joke to me, like, don't skip. Just skip ahead to my recipe and it'll be the authentic one. You need palm oil because the flavor, the color, everything, really. This food is heavily influenced by the slaves that came from West Africa, and palm oil is super essential to that part of the history, that part of the story for this dish. So our peppers and onions are soft, and we're gonna add our coconut milk. Ooh. Gosh, I wish you guys could smell this right now. So a little stir. And so that, plus a little squeeze of lime juice. I'm gonna do half of a lime. That is the sauce base. That's it, okay? We're gonna add our mussels and clams here. I got like about a half a pound of each. And we are golden. Give it a little stir. And you can see the color that it turns into this beautiful like yellowish color already. We're also gonna add our papaya because it's not cooked all the way through. We wanna finish cooking it in the sauce so it soaks up all the juices from the mussels and clams and the coconut and palm oil mixture. So growing up in my parents' restaurant, my mom had her famous moqueca on the menu. She had a shrimp one and a halibut one, which delicious. But just growing up with that, like eating it, you know, I'd come to my parents' restaurant after school some days and I can just the smell of like the palm oil and the coconut milk and, you know, seeing it go by the tables for people to eat, like it's just, it really like sparks that memory, that childhood memory for me. Whenever I smell this dish cooking, I just like picture myself in my parents' restaurant, like as a child. It brings really happy memories. All right. So literally, that was it. That was it. So just the base, which is palm oil, coconut milk, lime juice, our mussels and clams, our green papaya, a little bit of cilantro, definitely salt, and you have an authentic Brazilian moqueca that is ready to go. All right, look at this beauty, guys. So prep time, maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how fast you cut. But the cook time, also depending on like what seafood you have in. Mussels and clams are super easy, super quick. So it took about maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. And you have like, you know, this can be served as a little summer appetizer or, you know, one of the many side dishes. I love serving things like family style. I love, you know, being with my community and a dinner table, like everything just family style, everybody kind of like getting a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So this dish is perfect for that. And that is exactly how we're gonna plate this up. It is perfect for family style. So make sure that you pull any mussels or any clams that did not open, because that means that they are not good to eat. So look at this. Ooh. And then we are going to grab our tomatoes. That is all ready to go. Oh, the smell of this is so good. So you have your tomato confit, which is like super easy, like baked tomato, if you will. And I'm just gonna like, put that on top. You can put in like the little pieces of garlic as well. Oh my gosh, you guys, this smells so good. Even like a little bit of the oil. Oh, yum. And then last little touch is a couple leaves of cilantro. There you go. And you are all set with a Moqueca de Marisco. So good. It smells bomb. The green papaya, first things first. So good. It like soaks up like all the flavor. Like it's a little like, it's like a bubble that's like burst with all the flavors of the stew. Bit of the, so good. You guys, thank you for joining. This again is a authentic Bahian Moqueca with mussels and clams and green papaya. I'm Chef Emme. You can find me on Instagram at @ChefEmme_. I look forward to having you again here next time for a beautiful Afro-Brazilian Pacific Northwest inspired dish. Obrigada. Ciao.